many symphonic orchestras actually program this great music. You can hear them in concert halls, and they are very challenging to play. I've conducted some of them.
Which one?
I've conducted some music from Vertigo, and of course some music of John Williams, like his famous Star Wars suite. You know, that's great to play. It's very virtuosic for orchestra. Sounds almost like a symphonic poem by Richard Strauss. Part of them. I conducted music parts of Indiana Jones, which is which is actually known in concert hall, because when you bring this music to concert hall, the music have been arranged to make it suitable for symphonic orchestra to perform. So they're just segments of that. You know, you don't play the whole music in the film, so it's just segments of it, right? And I've also conducted John Williams, the music he wrote for Schindler's List. You know, there are three movements with the beautiful violin solos. That was thanks to Itzhak Perlman, who made it so famous. And, you know, Jurassic Park also, I've done parts of it. Indiana Jones. I mean, there are so many things to choose from.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like also to mention another name, because in Hollywood in the 1940s and 50s, we had Erich Wolfgang Korngold. Do you know this name? Erich Wolfgang Korngold. He was a genius because he originally came from Vienna. I think he was born in 1897 and died 1957. And when he was a child, he was considered the Mozart of his days, because he was such a genius. He was in his early teens. He was playing piano like nobody, and he wrote music so complicated. A boy of 12, 13, 14, 15, during his time, you don't find these people a lot. And he was really considered someone totally special, incredible prodigy, Erich Wolfgang Korngold. So he was famous for writing film music. On the top of my head, I can think of The Adventure of Robin Hood, that was written in the late 30s. And also A Midsummer Night's Dream, which was an adaptation of Shakespeare. So Shakespeare play, if you know, Felix Mendelssohn wrote Schauspiel music out of that. And Korngold was asked, that was again a silent film. He was asked to adapt the music of Mendelssohn to fit in this silent film. And with his incredible genius and skills, he made them like sounding from his own pen, you know, even though the original tunes were written by Mendelssohn. He kind of like tailored the music and made it suitable for the silent film. And of course, in the 1940s, you have the film called The Sea Hawk. This is a very classic film. Captain Blood, you know the actor Errol Flynn, Australian actor. Yeah, Errol Flynn. He was starring in Captain Blood. You know, these films that I just mentioned, Robin Hood, The Sea Hawk, Captain Blood, the music are fantastic. And people often not pay attention. Who wrote such great music of these films? That's none other than Erich Wolfgang Korngold. And before he was writing film music in Hollywood, he was just writing serious music for concert halls, orchestras. In Vienna, he was famous for writing operas. His operas called Die Tote Stadt or Jolanta. And he wrote, in America, he was commissioned by the great violinist Jascha Heifetz. So he wrote the famous violin concerto for Jascha Heifetz. And also he wrote one big symphony in the 1940s in memory of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Such gigantic piece of music. You can tell when he wrote music for films after immigrating to America, those serious pieces that he wrote in America, like the symphony I just mentioned in memory of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the violin concerto, if you hear these pieces, there are hints of films in there. It's like it's coming out of Hollywood, like the imagination of sound and pictures. It's amazing how one thing influenced the other.
I should check that out. I did not know some of the film. I mean the one that you mentioned, the Seahawk. I've never seen that.
The Seahawk was a famous film in the 1940s. You can, I'm sure, find that copy of the film. Captain Blood is another film I highly recommended to see, also to listen to the music. And The Adventures of Robin Hood. That's 1938.
One of the recent movie, I mean, the 2000s movie that I love so much is a film about music. It's Orchestras. It's, you know, you should. I think you know Orchestras. It's a Hollywood movie. Do you know? No.
I didn't know that. Tell me a little bit about it.
Orchestras is quite interesting because it contains every classical formula of a good movie with the lovely music. It's orchestra. It's a story about a kid who was orphan, but he's an orphan, but his parents are actually musicians. The mom is a cello player, and the dad is
cellist. Yeah.
And the dad is a cafe vocalist. So it's a band. So different. The dad is from a lower case. I mean the common people, yeah, like the regular guys, and the mom is from the upscale one, and so from Juilliard, that kind of stuff. So it's a conflict between classes and so on. So what I think the story itself is very good, and Freddie Nightmare, who's the kid, played very well, and it's lovely music. I love it so much. I mean, I think it's. I made my 15 my most favorite movies of all time, 15, and one of them is that film, Orchestras.
And what else are your favorite films? Is, if I may ask you,
the other
beside this one?
I love Annie Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Annie Hall, you know, right? Annie Hall, the Woody Allen. I love for directors. I love Woody Allen and Tim Burton.
Okay.
12 Monkeys. This is quite recent actually. 12 Monkeys. Brad Pitt. 90s then, late 90s. Other thing, Sound of Music for sure.
The Sound of Music. That's very important to talk about, because you know who were the composers of the film Sound of Music.
I forgot. What's his name?
No, the actor just died a few days ago.
Oh, really?
The great Christopher Plummer.
Christopher Plummer, right? Christopher
Plummer. He played in Sound of Music, and he passed away a few days ago. He was 91 years old. Yeah. One of the greatest actors of all time. The music of the film Sound of Music were written by two very, very famous people, Richard Rodgers and Irwin Kostal. And Richard Rodgers and Irwin Kostal, they work also, you know, quite a bit with Leonard Bernstein. Irwin Kostal was actually the guy who orchestrated some of Leonard Bernstein's scores.
I see.
That's a very, very important thing. You bring up this title, Sound of Music.
Sound of Music is like cannot. I never get bored watching it. Like every shot perfectly, all composed nicely, blocking, and so beautiful.
Richard Rogers.
My name,
Richard Rogers was a great composer. Yeah?
Yeah.
Very, very good composer.
masterful, so good, so good.
Mhm.
Yeah, so good.
And what else are your favorite films besides?
Oh, that's that. The later Truman Show. I love Truman Show. The story.
Mhm.
Yeah, if we go back to Sound of Music, I visited
The Castle
yeah
outside Salzburg. Yeah,
the Salzburg. Yeah, Salzburg. So I went to
outside Salzburg. Yeah. Mhm.
I read more about the Robert Weiss because Robert Weiss is the director and he gets Oscar on that film as well. And he was saying a lot of things and the context, and it's interesting that the family is still singing. The Von Trapp family right now, right? They're still singing.
Yeah, but the film was not done in that castle. Actually, they were renting a studio.
Yeah, it's all in the studio. They just cut the outside
Mhm.
from and then
Right,
the
that's
Von
right.
Trapp, the Von Trapp grandchildren of the real person is still singing right now. They're doing shows everywhere.
The castle was owned by Max Reinhardt. Max Reinhardt was a very famous theater director in Austria at that time. He also immigrated to America. And Max Reinhardt, together with Richard Strauss and Hugo von Hofmannsthal, they were the founders of the Salzburg Festival,
See?
if you know. The famous Salzburg Festival was founded in 1920s by these three guys. Richard Strauss, composer, Hugo von Hofmannsthal, librettist and author, and Max Reinhardt, theater director.
Nice.
So that's why if you go to Salzburg Festival, they have a tradition. Every year, they always do several performances of Jedermann. Jedermann is a theater work by Hugo von Hofmannsthal. There on the court of the church in Salzburg. And the original setting was by Max Reinhardt, the original stage direction.
If we go to the Indonesian movie, I love Tiga Dara. Tiga Dara is also a musical. If you know, I think you know, right? Tiga Dara, the classic Usmar Ismail. It has all the dramaturgy and when you cut, like you sing and then you cut beca and then you cut to the set. It's very good. All the flow, everything. It's one of my favorite also, Tiga Dara.
Also, not to forget to mention, because we talk about epic films. Yeah. We were talking a little bit about Ben Hur and Julius Caesar. Ben Hur, 1959. That was the music of Miklos Rozsa, as well as Julius Caesar, music of Miklos Rozsa. I think Julius Caesar was produced earlier, 1953. But do you know the film Spartacus? I'm sure you know Spartacus. The director of Spartacus was none other than Stanley Kubrick. Yeah. And the music was written, probably the name of the composer you are not very familiar. That's actually his pen name, Alex North. But he was born, he was a Jewish, he came from the Jewish family. His real name was Isador Isador Seufer. And when he made his name in Hollywood, he changed it to Alex North. He was the composer of Spartacus.
Spartacus is Kubrick's first major movie.
Yeah.
He was like so independent and doing crazy, genial movies, and then he gets this commercial break and everything. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's very good. Yeah.
We also can talk a little bit about the non-Hollywood movies. Sure. Because imagine, people who were not growing up in the United States, they grew up the classic films of their days. In Italy, we have Ennio Morricone, who, by the way, also made quite a career in Hollywood. In Hollywood, he was asked to write the music of Exorcist, the second Exorcist. I believe there are three Exorcists, right? The second one It was in the 1970s, 77 or something. Ennio Morricone wrote the music. But Ennio Morricone was known, perhaps most known for writing the music of Cinema Paradiso.
Exactly.
1988. And also the birdcage, the original birdcage, La Cage aux Folles, en français, La Cage aux Folles, or in English you say birdcage. There are 3 of them. And he was writing the music of all the 3 episodes of La Cage aux Folles, birdcage. And then in Hollywood, he did also another film. I think you know, this is an action film. The Untouchables, Sean Connery. But Morricone lived very long life. You know, he was also a conductor.
Yeah.
And people can check out some of his performances as a conductor, conducting his own music. He died only less than 2 years ago.
Very recently, right?
Yeah. It was just last year, right?
Yeah,
Actually, less than a year ago. He was 90 something.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, like the cowboy song is the cowboy movie. I remember John Williams said that every time he wants to make music for a movie, he wants to give specific for that movie. I mean, a specific tune or specific, soul for it. So all his movies like different. You know, that when you hear Raiders of
Can I?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I would like to answer you. You know, that actually comes from the idea of the operas.
Yeah.
If you look at, if you go back probably 150 years ago, Richard Wagner was the leading composer of operas in Germany. But Richard Wagner influenced practically everyone, because Richard Wagner was considered, you know, one of the major composers who actually introduced the music theater as Gesamtkunstwerk, means total artwork. He believed that operas was not just about the words, not just about the music, but it's everything. The word, the music, the movement, the design, the lighting, everything. He believed it's total artwork. It's also the librettis of the operas. He wrote it himself. And Richard Wagner introduced a technique called the Light Motif. So the Light Motif...
Before something comes in,
The Light Motif is... It's actually melodies that is associated either with a character or with a situation. That's why, you know, composer like John Williams, he was very much influenced by this. If you go to his music he wrote for Star Wars, for example, the tune for Darth Vader, that's like a light motif, and then a light motif for let's say the other character in the films. He really associated, like in the technique of Richard Wagner writing his operas.
So it comes from Wagner originally, yeah? He coined the term and he did it.
Well, actually, as composers, you know, the great composers understand the tradition.
Okay. Yeah.
If you want to write good music, you have to go back studying Johann Sebastian Bach. Everything started from the technique of harmony and counterpoint, fugue. You write counterpoint. That's Johann Sebastian Bach. So someone who understood the tradition very firmly, from Bach to Beethoven to Brahms and Richard Wagner, and make such a close association, how the music development, you know, went up from the beginning of 17th century, middle 17th century, up to beginning of 20th century. You know, they successfully created great music for films because they understood really the image motion pictures have to be supported by music which is crafted skillfully, crafted and orchestrated skillfully. As I said before, it's not just writing nice tunes in the ears, but great composers knows the proportion.
Yeah.
And very often also important segment of the film were not necessarily melodies which is nice to hear or nice to sing.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, if you take an example, Arnold Schoenberg. I don't know if you know this name, Arnold Schoenberg. Arnold Schoenberg was another extremely important composer who founded the technique of 12th tone, so that he wanted to break away from the tonality. So music is not anymore based on the tonalities, key relationship. So in the beginning of 20th century, he started to develop the technique. First, he broke away from tonality, so music became atonal. And after he created a system called the 12th tone, dodecaphonic music. And when he found this technique, when he mastered the technique, he wrote one piece of music in the 1930s called Accompaniment to a Cinematographic Scene. It's a short piece of music. It's around 9 minutes. But if you listen to it, you could put this music into a Hitchcock film. It's so incredible, the imagination of it. And actually the melody you cannot sing back. Everything is clustered, dissonant. But he created such a color in this piece. And also the way he combined the little particles of motif, very compact, and the imagination that he had about what a motion picture he wanted to have, because the music was never set to any film. You should listen to it. I highly recommend.
Yeah,
Arnold Schoenberg. Yeah, accompaniment to cinematographic scene. Yeah.